Welcome to KRA's The Hub, the official podcast of KRA Corporation. And now get ready to hear workforce topics and trends you need to know on the go.
Welcome to KRA's The Hub podcast. This is your host, Jonathan Overall. And today you're joining us. This is our first episode of 2026. So happy New Year to those that are watching this. And we are continuing our Get to Know KRA series. And this month we are highlighting internally within KRA our finance, our fiscal department. And we have a special guest. We are joined by Zaskia Ruiz, the Executive Vice President and COO of KRA. She's been a guest here before on the Hub, but today we're going to talk a little bit deeper about finances, her role in leading the corporate finance team, as well as how that is integrated into the operations and how that is also future oriented. Zaskia, welcome back to KRA's The Hub.
Well, thank you, Jonathan. It's a pleasure to be back. I look forward to today's session, look forward to sharing with our audience some of the things that KRA has been up to over the past, I think, 2 years since I was here on the podcast. So looking forward to today's conversation.
Likewise. Now, as we said, you were on the Hub before. Refresh our listeners a little bit about your professional journey and what drew you into fiscal leadership within workforce development.
Well, I think it's something that it's not something that I kind of chose for myself. I think I shared that with the audience before many episodes ago. I think it was episode 7. And this is something that my passion has always been working with people, finding solutions to problems. However, I was very much guided, mentored, and coached by different people throughout my life, a career journey that always guided me towards business administration, financial management. And it started as simple as, with my parents, then through my professors in college, to my employers, and those around me that I met throughout my career journey, where I may have interest in other areas. There has always been a need. There's always a need for someone that understands and can dig in when it comes to the financial aspect of any business.
Now, when most people hear the term finance, they think about budgets, they think about spreadsheets. But from your perspective, what does effective fiscal management really look like, especially in the workforce environment and where program success is very critical? What does that look like to you?
Well, I think that it is very interesting and unique in the workforce space. It's beyond, if we are just running a mom and pop business, a small business, it's a different world when you have funding sources that are tied to a federal budget, you're managing federal funding sources or state funding or other funding that have additional obligations. So you have to go beyond, GAAP, beyond your traditional accounting, record keeping, tax filing, financing of, future operations. You have to be more strategic. You also have to put in more effort into developing your team, because we don't teach workforce development fiscal management as a course in college. So even if you have someone that has an accounting background or has worked for another company, or even has worked as a CPA, when they come into this realm, they have to learn the uniform guidance. They have to learn the different reporting requirements. They have to completely understand compliance. They have to adapt to how our awarding agencies work, their systems, their processes. So I think it is a very unique space to be in when you have to work with individuals, develop individuals that have that passion for numbers, have that passion for accuracy, meeting deadlines, And you kind of have to wear like a little bit of a attorney's hat at times, it feels like, because there's a lot of reading involved, interpreting of that, and then the tactical approach of getting all of those things done in a timely manner. So it is definitely a interesting situation in this space.
Yeah, thankfully you hit on some of those financial disciplines that are required. You're connecting the dots to the contracts, the policy, and you're translating that into day-to-day success and consistency in a contract or a grant over time. Now, KRA operates across multiple contracts, different geographic regions, and also different types of funding streams. In your approach as a leader who oversees the finance department amongst others within KRA, what is that approach to financial oversight and managing for consistency, both at the local level and at the corporate organizational level?
Well, we have developed what I would say some training paths for our staff, and also for our staff that are going to be working in the what we call the compliance and budget services division. So at KRA, we have general accounting, and they take care of the bank reconciliations, your standard accounting, processing payments, those kinds of things. And then we have a more focused group, which is the compliance and budget services team. And we have basically assigned a dedicated budget analyst for each project. Now, a budget analyst may have manage a portfolio of five to maybe 2 to 3 contracts, depending on size. We actually have a formula, what the dollar value and the number of contracts that a budget analyst can manage. And that helps us also to establish strategies for growing the company. We understand that, if you grow the organization by, X level, you also have to expand your capacity. So we have kind of come up with a formula that works. And we have created a learning program, a fast track program, because, if you start a contract on July 1, or you start running a career center on July 1, the expectation is that you start performing on July 1. So we know that the learning curve is very steep, but we also want to extend grace to our team. So we have created a series of courses, online courses that are available, pre-recorded, that our budget analysts, in this case, need to take. There's also a series of live training that is delivered by our contract and budget services manager. There is a one-on-one check-in with the budget analyst, and then there is check-ins with KRA and the fiscal side of our awarding agency as well. So we kind of have designed a method on how we onboard someone that's going to be primarily responsible for doing project accounting or managing the funds and being basically the financial liaison for those projects. And then we have also basically created a learning program for leaders as well. So if you are going to be a project manager or project director in one of our projects, we have also created a learning path for those individuals. So this is something that in today's world, we believe has to be at the forefront. Financial management in workforce development has to be a priority, because our clients, our awarding agencies, are looking for return on investment. And it's no longer about just being nice people providing services to the community. It's about being able to quantify the results of what we're doing on a daily basis.
You mentioned the learning paths for leaders, and it caused me to think back to the point in my career when I was transitioning from someone who started working in the front lines as a business services consultant and eventually moved into the role of managing a business services team. And I got to tell you, the thing that was the I was the most apprehensive about was managing the finances. It wasn't something that I was used to on a day-to-day basis, but that learning path, and at that time, some of the tools that the team was using, the CBS team that you mentioned, really helped to bridge the gap in my knowledge and confidence in leading and managing in the fiscal environment with forecasting and making decisions that had financial expenditures, on the other end, and also compliance. Walk us through today how KRA is leveraging technology to really manage those things, the forecasting, the decision making across the organization, and also with the local projects.
Sure. So there is definitely a rhythm. It's a rhythm within KRA where we have very structured convenings between operations and the fiscal part of the house. So there is a convening where the status of those budgets are discussed, those progress are discussed, those tough conversations are had. But as far as technology, we currently use CostPoint, Deltek CostPoint as our accounting system. And we have been able to really improve our reporting capabilities. And we have ensured that CostPoint is integrated with other systems that we use, such as Avid Exchange for our accounts payable workflows, ADP Workforce Now, which is what we use for our payroll. So all of those systems are now integrated. Not perfect, because with technology, anytime you speak of technology, you have to add in continuous quality improvement. So that's some of the technology that we're using. But simple things now, what we're bridging the gap with finance and the operations or executive leadership has to do more with being able to tell the story. Most of the time, fiscal practitioners focus on numbers, while the operations and the executive team are looking for insights. They want the summary, of what we need to do in order to be successful. What changes need to be made today so that we can be successful in 6 months' time? And while we want the data to be timely, accurate, validated, all of those great things, it's just data unless it's translated into insights. And there are several features. Right now, one of the features that we're launching training on is using Copilot with Excel. Sometimes you send an Excel workbook to a manager and they're trying to they think every single number matters, right? Because that's not their strong suit. That is not what they lead with. So being able to provide more insights for being able for the managers and the decision makers to understand what story is that data telling and what's their role in making any kind of necessary adjustments. Through our, as you know, through our KRA's Innovation Lab, we also test out several products. We do a lot of pilots through that team that they can also share with finance or with operations, and we can consider using some of those products into our day-to-day. For example, our AGS Prime system, which we use for tracking our training and our performance benchmarks and things like that. Coupled with collaborating with our people and culture team to make sure that if it's something that needs to be memorialized, something that we want to continue to train on, we don't want it to just be a one and done. It's something that maybe we created a learning process today. We want to create that into a course, and we're able to use that and load that into our learning management system, our LMS system. For someone else that maybe they start a month later, they're able to take advantage of that program or that course that we deployed. So It's basically a combination of, understanding what is needed, creating something that's scalable, and making sure that we can continue on upskilling our team over time. We need to be able to do it over and over again. As we may experience, turnover, promotions, we need to be able to use the technology, but create it in a way that it can be reusable over time.
Now, I've heard it said that leadership is truly seen its strength during times of uncertainty. And right now in workforce development, there is a lot of uncertainty. There's a lot of transformational change economically within our workforce, also at the federal level, that is really now setting the course for the future. In the short term, it could look like tighter budgets, changing priorities for workforce providers and local boards. With all of that, those fluctuations in the economy and the workforce, how do you as a leader help to provide that direction and that stability through a time of complexity for your team and through the organization as well, especially when it comes to finance and the fiscal forecasting?
Absolutely. I think it's definitely a time of transition, a time of change, but a time, it's different when you are transitioning, but you understand the destination. You understand that it will be, in 2 hours, you're going to arrive at this destination. And it's different when you are, taking a ride, but you don't know how long the ride is going to be. You don't know what the ultimate location will be. And I think one of the first things that you can do is, stay grounded as far as keeping your listening, keeping your ear to what's going on, what's being said, what are the pain points of workforce right now. There's not going to be an immediate solution, cure, next month or the month after. Things are evolving. And I think as a leader, we need to make sure that we're tuning in to the different conversations that are being had at this time. I think that's important for us to remain, to have that ear to industry, listen to what's going on and see what's going on. As a people manager, I think it's important that we're also listening, that we're also hearing from the individuals that are actually doing the work, because they also bring a high level of innovation to the mix that we should consider. But I also think we need to continue on the path of, self-care, mental health. At KRA, we do strive to have at least 15% of our team members become mental health first aid certified. Whenever there is change or uncertainty, sometimes that heightens anxiety, right? And we have to be able to balance that. While we want to be hopeful about the future and we want to, see, have a good vision of what will be, in the meantime, we also have to stay grounded and making sure that we're taking care of ourselves and we're showing up and showing grace to the people that we're leading.
One of the pillars of workforce development are partnerships. And from a financial perspective and operational standpoint, there's a benefit to partnerships. We also see that now at the federal level, where there's a more intentional partnership between the Department of Labor and the Department of Education. And I know you've been a part of partnerships throughout the organization and KRA and really effectively leveraging funds for greater impact. What is your approach or your mindset, and something that our audience could take away is most effective in looking for and leveraging and maximizing partnerships within the community?
The first thing that comes to mind is one of my mentors that I had. His name was Harold Mopel at one of the companies that I worked with, Interpreters Unlimited in San Diego. And one of the things that he told me that always stuck with me is people are people. So what that means is we need to be comfortable approaching strangers, approaching people that we have not worked with in the past, And starting to build those relationships is as easy as, introducing ourselves at an event if we are face to face, or if you have their email address, if there's a friend or a connection in common, asking for that warm introduction and just having a conversation, about what they're doing, what we're doing. And that's at a lower scale. But I think at a higher scale, I think it's important for organizations, workforce, education to come to the table and have a conversation. At the end of the day, we have the same goal. The goal is the same, just from different angles. Let's not freeze. As long as we are engaging and having those conversations, putting those ideas on the table for better collaboration while we're in this transition, while we're on this, lengthy bus ride, what can we accomplish right now? What can we put together right now? People still need jobs today. We still are responsible for the funding sources that have been awarded through different appropriations. So how can we maximize what we're doing today? And I think it's simple as just bridging those conversations. Here at KRA, that is we leverage relationships to have different voices at the table for training and development, to have different voices at the table when we're trying to make those relationships in the business community, when we're trying to work with a specific population. I recall, the project that we had in Prince George's County, where we had a funding source related to serving foster youth that were exiting the workforce. And that relationship was basically made with CASA of Prince George's County just by starting an email and say, let's get together and let's have a conversation around how do we accomplish the same goal? We want the people in the community to be successful. You have the referrals, we have the services. How can we work together? And I think that turned out to be very successful. Again, I think it's just being intentional, and hopefully everybody that's working in this field, their heart is in the right place. This is a place where we do need to show up with passion and grace and with intention. And I think that's the only way that we can make this work for all.
Zaskia, in closing, I want to give you an opportunity. Today is the series on getting to know KRA, and we've taken a specific look at fiscal operations within KRA at the corporate level, at the local level. You've laid a foundation and really hit on some really key areas on what that looks like for KRA, but also an industry look as well as we talk about the uncertainty of the times. Are there any closing words that you would want the audience to know about KRA and the approach to this area and the department that you lead?
Well, I think by far KRA is a great company. I've been here for going on 9 years. I've only worked for another employer, which was a local workforce board here in Riverside County for 9 years. It's a great organization. We have the flexibility to implement change quickly. We have a great team that are very supportive. And if we say we're targeting to do this, they're lined up and ready to go. I also think that we have a strong legacy of over 44 years, coming up in 45 years in February. And there's just a wealth of knowledge about transitioning from different administrations, different funding priorities. And I think that brings a lot of strength and also comfort to those that are in the organization, to know that they're working for a company that has been resilient through many years. If you're new to KRA, if this is your first time tuning into the hub, I would encourage you to check out KRA.com. I would also encourage you to send any upcoming proposals if you're working on something for KRA for workforce related services, to send that over to communications@kra.com. And I would also encourage you, if you're a job seeker, to check out our jobs, our careers page. On our website, we've put a lot of information around who we are as a company. But overall, I think that any business, any educational provider, anybody within the ecosystem, just know that we are here. We have this KRA is the hub. We are leading the conversation in workforce development, and we are here to stay. And we welcome your partnership, your collaborations, and your thoughts. Thank you for having me, Jonathan.
Well, with that, thank you, Zaskia, for joining us here today and for sharing really a comprehensive overview of KRA's leadership in this area. Also want to let those that are listening know that you can hear more of Zaskia on Workforce GPS. She actually has a fiscal seminar that she did. It's an 8-hour training, and you can learn more of the practical, tactical, how-to, and strategic mindset that goes into fiscal management. And if you enjoyed what you heard today on KRA's The Hub podcast, I want to encourage you to like, follow, and share this content. You can follow us on Apple Podcast, Spotify, and also on YouTube. You can click the subscribe button and get updated on all of our content, our podcast episodes, as well as some of our webinars that we do, and other content that is specific to workforce. As Zaskia said, the voice leading the conversation in workforce development. And so you're a part of that community. And so we appreciate that engagement. Until next time, we'll see you again on KRA's The Hub podcast.
Thank you for listening to KRA's The Hub. Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to podcasts. To learn more about KRA Corporation, visit www.kra.com. Thanks so much for listening, and we'll be back soon with a new episode.